How's it hanging, guys? Aaron from PhoneDog.com here, and I almost put on my sunglasses when I started this dogfight because it's going to be such a darn hot dogfight. That's, okay, it's Bad Joke Wednesday, what can I say? But here it is. Awesome dogfight between the EVO 3D and the Samsung Nexus S 4G. Branded as the Google Nexus S 4G. Both of these are on Sprint. Both of these are high-end Android phones. Both of these are 4G, but this one has 3D capabilities. 1.2 gigahertz processor, dual 5 megapixel cameras, whereas this one has a stock Android 2.3 experience. Which one's the best? We'll find out in the HTC EVO 3D versus Samsung Nexus S 4G dogfight, which starts right now. If you're on Sprint and you really like Android, there are a lot of different options available for you. You have the HTC EVO 3D, which just came out, and it's $199 with a 2-year agreement. Then you have the Nexus S 4G, you have the Epic 4G, the EVO Shift 4G, a lot of devices that aren't just Android phones, but they're also 4G options, WiMAX if you will, on Sprint. But here it is, HTC EVO 3D. This is the newest one to the lineup. It came out, let's see, when did it come out? A couple weeks ago for $199.99. Then you have the Nexus S 4G, also $199.99, and I'm sure you can find these through some specialty retailers for a little bit cheaper, Amazon, Wirefly, some of the third-party places like that. But the EVO 3D has a 1.2 gigahertz dual-core Snapdragon processor, so it's Sprint's first dual-core device to hit their lineup, which is pretty cool. It's nice to see that over on the nation's third largest carrier. Then you have Android 2.3 with HTC Sense 3.0. So it's running the latest when it comes to software builds, the latest build of Android that's commercially available, and it's running HTC Sense 3.0, the overlay over Android 2.3. So that's the newest version that HTC makes for their phone. So two new things there, dual 5 megapixel cameras. This is the first 3D phone to hit US shores. The Optimus 3D, I did review that, and that was the first one that we got our hands on here in the PhoneDog Labs, but that's not available in the United States just yet. It's coming to AT&T later in the summer as the thrill. But anyway, 3D capabilities here, front-facing camera, and it's got a 4.3-inch QHD display, and it's a stereoscopic display, so you don't need 3D glasses to view 3D content. So that's a pro. The downside to that is the stereoscopic displays are still very new, and you do have to hold the display at a certain angle if you want to view the 3D content properly. It's one of those things you hold it, ever so slightly the wrong way, and you're going to have issues, and you're going to get headaches 5 or 10 minutes later. I know for me, even holding it the right way, 3D content gives me a headache, even more so if you don't hold it the right way. Then you have the Nexus S 4G over here, single-core 1 gigahertz Hummingbird processor. So you have a single-core 1 gigahertz Hummingbird here, dual-core 1.2 gigahertz Snapdragon here. 4-inch display, Super AMOLED display, 5 megapixel camera on the back. Now, interestingly enough, even though this is Google's flagship device right now, it does not support 720p HD video recording, whereas this one does. This one supports 720p HD video recording in both 2D and 3D. It does not support 1080p, like the press release incorrectly stated. They came out and they said, no, it doesn't, in fact, support that. So no 720p, no HD period here, 720p HD over here. But you do get a front-facing camera. Now, what's really the selling point on this one? One, it has 4G. Which the original Nexus S didn't, but number two, it's a stock Android experience out of the box. It's Android 2.3, there are no carrier customizations over here, no Sprint programs that you can see installed, anything like that. I mean, it's vanilla, plain Jane Android 2.3. So these are obviously going to appeal to two different types of people. If you're somebody that really wants that stock Android experience, you really like the design of the Nexus S, then this is the device for you. But really just on a software front, stock Android over here, kind of a heavily customized version of Android over here. So one will appeal to you, or maybe both will if you're like me, because they're both pretty high-end, awesome devices. But anyway, back to what I was saying. Android 2.3 over here, and it has a 4-inch display, like I said, but it's a curved display, so you can see, angle it so you can see that the display is slightly curved there. You really notice it when you're down here pressing the buttons, or you're up top. You can really feel the curve, and it is, it's one of those things. It looked a lot uglier, honestly, in Google's pictures when they launched this device than it does in real life. It's actually a pretty decent-looking device, and it is plasticky. It's traditional Samsung style, but that's a love-hate thing. You may not bother you. But you have the hump down here, the typical Samsung hump that we all know and love. And just to talk a little bit about the ports and the buttons, etc. Power button rather on the right side. 3.5mm headphone jack down here at the bottom. Micro USB charging port over here, and then your volume rocker over on the left side. This has a 1,500 milliamp hour battery. So just to cover that, pull this out so you can see. 1,500 milliamp hour battery. No SD card slot in this, 16 gigabytes of internal memory, and that's it. Once you fill that up, you're out of luck. Now this one, volume rocker on the right side, huge thing for me here. You can toggle between 2D and 3D content. You have your physical camera button, micro USB charging port, power button, and 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. Now this has a 1,730 milliamp hour battery, if I can get the battery cover off. Which, you know, HTC and Sprint, when they came out, they were like, well, you know, it's 3D. So even though the EVO, the original EVO, had a 1,500 milliamp hour battery, this 1731 is going to, you know, because of the 3D content, it's going to make it last through the day. It's going to be a little bit better than 1,500. Not really. I have a hard time making it through the day on the EVO 3D, not even using the 3D content, because you look at some of the new things in Sense 3.0, for example, like the lock screen, and I may have to, yeah, I'm going to have to put that back on before I can press the power button, but 8 gigabyte micro SD card slot, or a card back there in the back with capabilities of supporting up to 32 gigabytes. So let me go back over here just so you can see. These types of things, rather, I don't have it programmed at the moment, but this is the new lock screen on Sense 3.0. You can do a lot of customizations to this device, and if you want to see what you can do, go over to my EVO 3D review and check that out. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but you can see that there's some changes in things like the carousel. It looks a little bit different, and you can see this new personalization menu, which was introduced in Sense 2.0, but since Sprint doesn't have any 2.0 devices, or they didn't at least when this came out, this is something that's new to the Sprint side. So this new personalization menu, you can go over here to lock screen, not wallpaper finger, silly finger, and you can see wallpaper, photo album. You can customize your lock screen to make it how you want it to look. So you can see, for example, weather is always a favorite of mine. So when I pop up, it'll show me the weather in the area, and then I can change the settings down here, so I can change those quick keys. If, you know, I happen to use Blockbuster a lot, I can make Blockbuster one of the quick keys, and we'll apply this. So whenever I turn it off and back on, it'll bring up Charlotte's weather, and then it has all my quick keys down here. Now I can either push the ring up to bring in the take it home, or I can pull one of the quick applications down into the circle, and I can activate those. So if I use messaging, phone, etc. a lot, all I have to do is drag it right down, and I'm in business. But these type of things, you know, obviously activate GPS to accommodate, you know, where you locate where you are. Those kill battery pretty quickly. So frustrations on the battery front, but out of the box on this one, you do get some Sprint stuff, 3D games, Blockbuster, you get HTC Hub and HTC Likes. These are two customization things that HTC have included, or has included rather. HTCSense.com, which is a HTC Hub basically. You get access to wallpapers, ringtones, extra skins, things you can download. So it's kind of like an app store, but it's HTC's app store, if you will, for customization. So you can see NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile, you have Sprint Hotspot, Sprint Mobile Wallet, Sprint Radio, TV, Movies, Sprint Zone. You get the Green Hornet 3D on this device as well. And just scrolling through, you can see some of the differences in Sense 3.0 here. You can see the different different notifications bar with the quick settings shortcut. This was actually introduced in Sense 2.1, but the only device to receive that in the States that I can think of at the moment is the HTC Droid Incredible 2. So again, new to Sprint, new to a lot of Android users, even HTC Android users. But you get these shortcuts, and also HTC's bundled their own task manager, so you don't have to download anything from the App Store, from the Android market rather. You can use HTC's built-in task killer, and that alleviates to an extent some of the debate that's going on in the industry right now as to whether task killers are really effective or not. But you can see, I don't know why it's frozen. Uh-oh, it's frozen. Huh, not wanting to respond to my gestures. See this? Uh-oh. I will put it down and come back to it in just a second. Then on this one, stock build of Android, you can see you have 5 home screens as opposed to the 7 over here on HTC, and very typical Google widgets. Again, don't want to spend too much time in this because you can see all this in the reviews of these respective devices. But to really talk about some of the differences, and that's going to bother me until I see if it... looks like we'll have to do a restart there and see if we can get that fixed. Anyway, stock Android 2.3 over here, you can see it's vanilla all the way through. You know, the notifications bar is stock Android 2.3. Everything looks stock here. And to access your 5 home screens, you can press and hold down there the little dots, which represent which home screen you're on. Now, unfortunately, it's stock Android. Stock Android, in my opinion, is pretty ugly. You may love it, but there's no, very few customizations over here that you get on this device. So let's go into messaging, take a look at that, just so you can see some of the differences in the keyboards. This one comes with one keyboard and one keyboard alone, and that's the Android keyboard. This is a stock gingerbread keyboard. It's a difference from Android 2.2, so if you're coming from one of the original Galaxy S devices or something with a stock Android keyboard, you'll notice immediately that it looks different. So actually I find it, I hated it at first because the keys are a lot narrower, a lot shorter, and a lot fatter as opposed to the kind of tall, narrow Android 2.2 keys. So the Quick Brown Fox, whoa, woo, woo, Quick Brown Fox.
is special. The Quick Brown Fox is speculation. Quick Brown Fox is special. You can use that in portrait or you can use it in landscape. And I keep landscape whenever I'm using these devices as test devices. I actually turn landscape off. So let me auto rotate that so you can see what the keyboard looks like in landscape mode as well. 4-inch display. I think this is a sweet spot between 4.3 and 3.7, so it's a nice balance, but you may want something a little bit bigger. Now this is 4.3. It's a QHD display, 540 by 960 pixels, so it's a lot narrower and a lot taller than even the original 3D EVO 4G rather, or the Epic 4G devices like that. Very narrow, very tall, and it fits well in the hand. It's got a nice texturized battery door back here, so it grips well. And I like the fact that the battery door this time around, if we're talking about improvements to the original, wraps all the way around the device. So the overall design goes to the EVO 3D. The design's much better on this device as opposed to this. I mean, you know, I don't care for all plastic. It's pretty durable. That said, it has a plasticky kind of cheap feel, whereas this, with the chrome, with the nice buttons, with the texturized battery cover, and then with the metal faceplate here, really gives it a premium look. Jump into messages real quick so we can see what the keyboards look like here. And you get two options here on input method. You get swipe and HTC's touch input, one of my favorite keyboards on the market. Fox is ready for dinner. Quick Brown Fox is ready for dinner. You can use it in portrait or in landscape, and because this display is so long, you get some great landscape feedback for people with large thumbs. So if you're like myself, you're president of the Fat Finger Club, a lot easier to type in landscape on this device due to how elongated the display is.